All those in favour?
Can we restate it? I'm sorry.
Sorry, do you want to just say it one more time, Lenny?
We're lost.
You think I can?
Say it one more time.
Oh,
You can do
okay.
it.
You really want me to? Okay. All right. The equivalent of up to 1 hour of each meeting will be dedicated to receive testimony from public witnesses delivered either in person, by telephone, or by video. By video, that's interesting. Oh. The period of time allocated to each witness shall be not less than 5 minutes. Witnesses can use their allocated time to read a prepared statement or to offer comments on committee reports or discussion.
Drop the equivalent. You don't need that at the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
You can say up to or at least.
That's
One or the other of those two phrases.
Equivalent of up to 1 hour. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need
No.
the equivalent. It's
It's
up to.
up to 1 hour.
Up to 1 hour or at least 1 hour or
That's
something
it.
like that.
No, not at least.
Say up to. Okay. Up to 1 hour. Well, it gives you the prerogative if somebody's testifying to go over. That's all. Like it's 1 hour. Like 2 minutes.
Up to 1 hour of each meeting will be dedicated to receive testimony from public witnesses delivered either in person, by telephone, or by video. The period of time allocated to each witness should be not less than 5 minutes. Witnesses can use their allocated time to read a prepared statement or offer comments on committee reports or discussion.
Lenny, sorry to get picky, but you said each meeting, and you were talking about each day of each meeting. So my only concern is, if it's a two-day meeting...
Sorry, up to 1 hour of each meeting day. So if there's 2 days, it would be each day.
I'll second.
Well, it's been seconded.
Can we vote?
He did second.
All those in favour?
I'm in favor. Moving on.
Against? Abstentions? Just one point of clarification. So bylaws stop at us, or does or somebody else have to sign off so we can make whatever bylaws we
Absolutely.
want? Okay.
Yep. So that was a bylaw.
That's scary.
Bylaw, I made an amendment to the charter, to the bylaw, to the charter, to the bylaw. Thank you.
So, can I ask a question then on page 3 of the discussion draft for the bylaws? Paragraph 3 says the DFO and committee chair may decide in advance to exclude public comment during a meeting, in which case the meeting announcement published in the Federal Register shall note that oral public comment shall be excluded. Is that in conflict with what we just approved?
Yes.
It is in conflict. Yeah, this is lifted from, we lifted this after someone else's, we haven't used these bylaws,
So
we
the
just,
question is, do we have to fix that?
oh,
Or
sure,
somebody-
that can easily be,
But you guys can fix that in your
Yeah.
office. We don't have to physically fix it here,
Yeah.
right? Fine.
that's on page 3, you said, of that,
Yes.
and where on page 3, just so I can flag it.
Third paragraph, page 3 of the discussion draft.
And now get back to the issue that Mike brought up. On 1 hour during each meeting, we allocate to individuals having the opportunity, to witnesses, to bring in questions that would be given to the chair. The chair would distribute it to members or ex officio members, and basically there would be 1 hour allocated for doing that, approximately 5 minutes per question. So that's the kind of bylaw kind of effort to carve this out into a separate motion. So I'm throwing that in as a motion to the bylaw.
What if the ex officio member didn't have the answer to the question and had to go somewhere else to research it?
That's what day 2 is for.
That certainly could happen, and they could come back the next meeting or email the person or give us all the information. There's certainly multiple ways that could be handled.
Is this going to be in advance questions or de novo? So if it's written in, has to be received within a certain period of time.
Submitted to the chair, is what you
Submitted
said.
to Chris.
There's a couple of ways of doing it. You can do it on the fly, that people write questions down and hand them up on a card, or we could have them come in ahead of time, do what we do with the public commentary, and
I would say before, I would put a friendly amendment on, but before we even discuss my motion to the bylaws, is it possible for it to get seconded?
it should really be seconded before we
Yes.
discuss it, Lenny. You're right.
Can I have a point of
Okay.
information? I think if I'm going to Robert's rule this, there's no place in our agenda for our subcommittees to report back to this committee today.
Not today, unless you want to carve that out in the 4 to 4:15
Because
slot.
we made a resolution.
Well, and does that
Even though
roll
we don't
up?
have the name of our committee yet, we have a resolution.
Does it roll up to the level of a recommendation?
It does.
As well? Then
It
again,
does. So at the end of our day, before we're done, can we have like 10 minutes to report?
We'll find time for it.
Thank you very much. That's all I need to ask.
that's great.
So we have a motion on the floor.
Just speaking for the motion, as an unbiased person, it just seems like if we want a two-way process with people from, I mean, we had some very impassioned comments during our public testimony about a collaboration, about kind of really give and take. And I think to the extent that we really believe in that value, then we want people to sort of see us as individuals who care about their questions and try to grapple with them. We might not have answers to many of them, but at least we can try to say we've heard them and we're struggling possibly with the same issues that they are. I think ultimately what it does is it gives our audience kind of more credibility in who we are because we're interacting with them with the things that are important to them.
Okay, so now we can discuss. This is an important consideration from my perspective. What I'm struggling with is that it's so important. I worry a little bit about the logistics and that we put things in place now that are not the best workable option. So we can spend a little bit of time thinking about how that particular aspect of the meeting would operate and decide whether today we're comfortable adding that to the bylaws. I agree with Lenny. I think it's a great idea. It's just a matter of how we operationalize it.
And I think from an operational standpoint, I think we're going to have to go back to our advisory committee lawyers to understand what that process is if it's done in advance. Because we've got public comment. We request that, you send it in. Do you also send your questions at that time? Is it part of that? Do we chunk that differently? Since the bylaws are not on an approval schedule, they simply emulate the charter. It's how we operate. If we can bookmark the intent to facilitate dialogue, particularly with those who are in attendance, till we can get some advice from our own lawyers, how we can make sure that, that we get questions and that those are handled in the most appropriate process, what that is, or whether it's better to simply schedule a 1-hour dialogue slot that allows, up to the mic, back and forth. It's not comment per se, that's registered. I don't know, but that's where I rely on our lawyers in the department because I don't want this committee to go down a road of hope and leading a community down a road of hope that for whatever reason we can't uphold. But I'm willing to take this to the lawyers and get back to the committee with what that response is.
I'm happy to table my motion until this is clarified. The only reason I kind of bring it up is that over the last year or year and a half, some of the most riveting kind of things that have happened at our committee have been when just that has happened, when someone from the audience has come in to the table and we've had a dialogue with them. Unplanned, but extremely important for our deliberation. So to the extent that we have that flexibility, I just think we can do better work.
Great. So, was that? Okay. Done.